He is currently pursuing PhD in University of Mumbai. He has done his masters in 2011 in from University of Mumbai in structural engineering. He also done BE in 1999 from SGGS Nanded. His area of interest are structural engineering and hydrology. Research and consultancy are the minor research project grant from University of Mumbai 2017. Also minor research project grant from University of Mumbai 2014. Government and ISRO sponsored research work at IIRS Dehradun, and also research work at Central Building Research Institute, Roorkee in Uttarakhand. Awards and recognition are awards recognized postgraduate guide, University of Mumbai, examiner for postgraduate Savitribai Phule Pune University, joint chief conductor of examination University of Mumbai, member of panel for examination for Maharashtra Public Service Commission 2004, engineering mechanics subject expert in Sasmira Institute of Man-Made Textile, Worli, Mumbai, and also selected for government and ISRO sponsored training program at IRS 2018. He has total publication of 13 papers and research guidance for PG level, 10 completed and 15 are ongoing. Thank you.
Thank you, Prathamesh. Now I request Narwade sir to take over the chat.
Good afternoon to everybody. Respected coordinator of this faculty development program, Aditya Nilawar sir, respected ML Vaikar sir, and respected HOD LG Patil sir, HOD of Civil Engineering Department, SGGS IET Nanded. First of all, I will thank you, organizer, for inviting me for this faculty development program approved by AICT and QIP. Sir, I will share my screen just now, sir. And sir,
Yes,
with your kind permission, actually there is a problem in bandwidth. So can I switch off my video, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sure.
Okay, so there is some so that I can speak loudly and fluently.
Yes, sir. Yes, sure.
Okay. Sir, is my screen visible, sir?
Visible, sir. Visible.
Okay. Okay, so good afternoon, participants. Once again, I'm Professor R.P. Narwade, Associate Professor in Department of Civil Engineering, Pillai HOC College of Engineering and Technology. This college is there in the Panvel, Navi Mumbai area. And today I will be talking on the topic impact assessment of climate change using remote sensing and GIS. Okay, so this topic is somewhat related with the Earth. It is related with Go Green, so that's why I have used this green concept. So throughout my PPTs, I have used only green color. Okay, so the theme is Go Green. Okay, so outline of my presentation. First, I will talk regarding as title of my project is what impact assessment of climate change using remote sensing and GIS. So I will be dividing my presentation in three parts. First, I will talk on the climate change. So you will be given information about the climate change. What is climate change, and what are the parameters there which influence more. Then second is I will be talking about remote sensing and GIS, and third is hydrological modeling. Okay, so I will be talking on only this SWAT model, SWAT hydrological model. Then data used and methodology adopted for impact assessment of climate change, and I will be discussing two case studies. Okay, so I will start my presentation. Now, introductory part. So all of you know that water is very precious, and its presence affect how and where what we can say plants and animals exist on the earth. Now, in 2007, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, they have published one report. Okay, so they have published one report. In that report, it is clearly mentioned that in Indian continent, the temperature will rise by 2.5 degrees Celsius to 4 degrees Celsius. Okay, so as due to this rise in temperature, so we call rise in temperature as a global warming. So due to global warming, okay, so climate change will be the result of the what global warming. Just a minute, I will switch off my mobile. Okay, sorry. So climate change is again a big concern for all the researchers, and also climate change is a big concern all over the world. Then what is climate change? So first I will give you information about the climate change. As I already said that Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, in their report, they have clearly mentioned that the Earth's temperature is going to rise by 2.5 degrees Celsius, and it will rise up to, as per their prediction, it will rise up to 4 degree. Okay, so due to this, there are chances of sea level rise, there are chances of the global warming, and ultimately it will result in what? Climate change. So one more important point, in India, many river basins are overstressed due to increase in population. Many river basins, you take any river basin, whether Godavari river basin, Ganga river basin, Krishna, okay, so all the rivers basins which are there in India, they are overstressed due to increase in population. Okay, so the concern of global warming and resulting climate change has made the problem what? Terrible. Okay, so it is very important to study this climate change. So there are two agencies, one is IPCC and second is UNFCCC. So they have given the definitions of climate change. So as per IPCC, climate change may be due to natural internal processes or external forcings, or the second organization, which is the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. So as per this organization, they have defined as a climate change which is attributed directly or indirectly to human activity that alter the composition and global composition, which is addition to natural climate. So the next important point is, as I was mentioning earlier, climate change and global warming. Okay, so climate change and global warming are often used interchangeably, but they have distinct meaning. Okay, so what is climate change? Climate change is a long-term change in the average weather pattern that have come to define. Okay, then what is a global warming? Global warming is nothing but it's a long-term heating of Earth's climate system observed since the pre-industrial period. So pre-industrial period means they have considered from 1850 to 1900. Okay, so due to this human activities, primarily fossil fuels burning, which increases heat trapping, which increases greenhouse gases, greenhouse gas level in the Earth surface. Okay, so this global warming is the most commonly measured average increase in temperature of the Earth. Then second is just introduction of the climate change, because the topic is impact assessment of climate change on using the remote sensing and GIS. So as I told you, so this climate is what it is a resultant of extremely complex system consisting of meteorological variables. So what are the meteorological variables? So meteorological variables, the well-known meteorological variables are one is temperature, precipitation, wind, solar radiation. These are the some of the major what we can say climate variables. Means these are the meteorological parameters. So as per climatology, so climatology reveals that the climate of the earth has always been changing and will change in future also. Okay, so due to change of this climate, so as this process may be slow, or it may be gradual, or it may be rapid. Okay, so due to this periodic and non-periodic changes, okay, so there are chances of it may affect the local areas, it may affect the regional area, it may also affect the global. So many reasons are there for climate change. So energy related greenhouse gas emission, then mainly fossil fuel combustion for electricity generation, heating, then transport accounting more than is equal to 70% of the total emission, and this is the main cause of the global warming, and this due to this global warming there is effect of this climate change. Okay, so climate change is nothing but what? Climate change, it always represent the long-term average weather. And what is that period? More than, if the study is carried out of for more than 3 decades, and change in pattern of the weather over the period of 30 years can be considered as a what? Climate change. So climate change is a resultant of extremely complex system. Already I have told you. So in a narrow sense, this climate change is nothing but average weather, or rigorously the statistical description in terms of mean and variability of relevant quantities of weather parameters over this. Okay, so here as per World Meteorological Organizations, so the classical period for climate change is considered as a 30 years. Okay, so climate change already in the initial initial 1 to 2 slide I have told you that climate change is a big concern over the world, and it has attracted the attention of researchers to address the issue related to this. Okay, so to resolve this issue, okay, so hydrological modeling will definitely help us in terms of parametric finding and assessment and estimation of this. Okay, so climate change brings unusual changes in the atmosphere as well as atmosphere, and so to do the accurate modeling, so we can help many hydrological models, and I am going to discuss the SWAT as a hydrological model for the assessment of the climate change in my lecture. Okay, so already I have told you about this climate change. In the past decades, increase in level of carbon dioxide. I have already told you about the global warming. So climate change brings unusual changes in the atmosphere, and accurate modeling will definitely help you to resolve this problem. Okay, so climate change occurs when these are the some of the reasons mentioned there in the slide. So climate change can occur when changes in Earth's climate system result in new weather pattern for the last few decades. I mean, generally I told you the period is up to 3 decades or 30 years. Okay, now this picture shows the change in temperature, increase in temperature. Okay, so this picture is taken from, just a minute. Okay, so this picture is taken from, this is the source, annual temperature. So this this picture shows the annual temperatures. Okay, and this temperature is recorded up to 2014. Okay, so in this figure shows the record annual temperature from 1820 to 2014, and you can see there the temperature is rising. So here there are different organizations. One is the NASA, then second is Met Office Hadley Center Climate Research Unit, then NOAA, then Japanese Meteorological Department. So the data is taken from all these 4 organizations, and in this it has been observed that so temperature is rising, and in 2007, IPCC, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, they have published one report, and in that report, it was clearly mentioned that temperature in 2100 will definitely rise. Okay, then next is impact of climate change on hydrological cycle. Okay, so impact of climate change on hydrological cycle. So we know hydrological cycle plays a very important role in the hydrology. Okay, so change in spatial and temporal pattern of precipitations. Okay, so due to climate change, there may be change in evapotranspiration. Okay, so evaporation takes place, this evapotranspiration is the term taken from evaporation and transpiration. Evaporation from water and transpiration from the plants. Okay, so the term is combined as a evapotranspiration. Then next is change in natural recharge pattern. So there will also be change in runoff pattern, and due to climate change, sea level is rising, and climate change also impact on very others factors also. So there are other factors we will study in next few slides. So again, consequences of climate change or effect of climate change. So temporal and spatial variability may be affected. Okay, so groundwater and surface water. Then there are frequent occurrence of floods in India, and also in Marathwada region there are frequent occurrence of drought also. Okay, so flood and drought intensity and frequency and magnitude is also changing. It is increasing, or sometimes it may also decrease. So effect on glacier and snowfields, then effect on groundwater quality, then increased saline water intrusion in coastal areas. Okay, so these are some of the consequences of the climate change. Okay, so climate change and runoff is also influenced by the climate change. Okay, so then tropical and subtropical regions are expected to see less runoff due to the change in climate change. So these are some of the disastrous events or effects of the climate change. So first event is global temperature rise. Many times I have given you the information about the report published by the IPCC. So the planet's average surface temperature, it has risen about 1.62 degree Fahrenheit. Okay, so 0.9 degrees Celsius, sorry. So there is a mistake. So by the this 20th century, then second is the warming of oceans or warming of seas. The oceans have absorbed much of the increased heat, with the top 700 meters of ocean showing warming of more than 0.5 degree Fahrenheit from 1960. And then second effect of this global warming and climate change is shrinking ice sheet. Okay, so in Greenland and Antarctica, okay, so Greenland lost an average 286 million tons of ice per year between 1993 to 2016. At the same time, the Antarctica lost 127 billion tons of ice per year during the same period. So these are the effects of the climate change. Some more effects of the climate change: glacial retreat, then decreased snow cover, then this sea level rise. Okay, so glacial retreat, so glaciers are retreating almost every years. Okay, so here the picture shows the in this picture it shows the disappearing of snow cap of Mount Kilimanjaro, which is there, and this image is taken from the space. Okay, so decreased snow cover. Okay, so satellite observations reveal that the amount of spring snow covers the northern hemisphere has decreased, and the next reason is sea level rise. Already I have told you about the sea level rise. Okay, then some more effects of the climate change. So these are the declining Arctic sea ice, then extreme event, cyclone, then cloud burst, flash flood. These are the some of the extreme events. Then ocean acidifications. So these are some of the extreme events observed due to the climate change. Then one more important point due to the climate change. So in Mumbai region, in the year 2019, okay, so Mumbai in 2019, Mumbai has recorded the rainfall of 3,453. So this record, this rainfall, it was occurred after 65 years. So the faculty, the professors of IIT Bombay, they studied this pattern. Okay, so they concluded that this happened due to the this climate change only. Okay, so before so in Mumbai, so this is the this picture shows the in Times of India. This news was there in Times of India in 2019. Okay, some more extreme events due to climate change. So here you can see in the figure in 2018 there was a flood in Kerala. Then in 2019 there was flood in Western Maharashtra in Sangli, Satara, and Kolhapur. Then in this year itself, the Tokte cyclone, it happened. Okay, all these are nothing but due to the due to climate change only. Some more disastrous event recorded happened in the last year in 2005. Okay, Mumbai flood. I experienced this Mumbai flood in 2005. Okay, so this Mumbai flood, you take the example of this cloud burst, flash flood there in Kedarnath, Uttarakhand. Then also a landsliding happened there in Kedarnath due to that flash flood. Then this middle figure, it shows the it shows the casualties happened. Okay, so due to this Nizar cyclone, it happened in 2020. There was a huge loss to the infrastructure, and also there was huge loss to the economy of Maharashtra. Okay, so research issues of interest. So research is to why to study this climate change. Okay, so research issue of interest, water availability. Okay, how do water fluxes vary to catchment scale? So impact on water quality. Then we should also know about the water demand, then evapotranspiration, then municipal and industrial demand, then salinity, intrusion, and coastal flooding. Okay, so these are some of the points so we should keep in mind. Then climate change and hydrological implications. So increasing temperature, evaporation, then water quality, then changes in precipitation pattern, then stream flow, water availability, then intensity, then frequency and magnitude of floods and drought. Okay, now we every year we hear the news of that this part of the area of this part of the Maharashtra or this part of the India. There was a flood, and there are chances of more flood. Okay, so rise in sea level also. Okay, so this is the first part of the my presentation. Now second part is as remote sensing plays an important role in the hydrological modeling. So it is very important to study this remote sensing. So remote sensing play an important role in the disaster management. So I will give you one example. So in the year 1970, there was a cyclone in some part of the Assam. So you know, Assam is more vulnerable to cyclone. So in that year, in 1970, 10,000 people died there in Assam due to the cyclone. But now, if we check the record of last decade or record of last few years, then it is observed that so there are less casualties or there are less death due to the what? Cyclone. So with modern tools and technology, we can predict the cyclone. Even actually, you know, there are total 16 types of natural disasters are there, and some man-made disasters are there. But not all natural disasters are predictable. Even we can't predict an earthquake. We can't predict volcanic eruption. We can't predict this landsliding. But now with the use of remote sensing and with the use of this GIS, we can easily predict the cyclone, and there is a paradigm shift in the disaster management. And if we go through the previous report of last few years, then there are less casualty, and the credit goes to this remote sensing itself. Okay, so remote sensing is a valuable tool in many hydrological modeling applications due to its capacity of providing in restricted collection of information with wide spatial coverage and temporal repeat. Now, different organizations, they have given the definition of the remote sensing. Just means I will not go in detail about the remote sensing. Okay, so the brief revision of the remote sensing. So there are 4 organizations. So what is the first organization? So first organization we know, NRSA, National Remote Sensing Agency. So as per National Remote Sensing Agency, okay, so what is the meaning? Remote sensing is the technique of deriving information about objects on the surface of the earth without physically coming into contact with them. Then one more organization is there. What is CCRS? What is CCRS? Actually, CCRS is a Canadian Center for Remote Sensing. So as per this Canadian Center for Remote Sensing, so also they have explained about the remote sensing. So they have given the information about the remote sensing. So remote sensing, it is a science of acquiring information about Earth's surface without actually being in contact with it. Then one more famous organization in the world, okay, NASA, National Aeronautics and Space Administration. So here you can see that NASA has given the definition of remote sensing. And if you go through the definition of all the organizations, okay, so JENSEN is an organization which is there in Japan. Okay, so JENSEN is a Japan-based agency which involves in the research of remote sensing and GIS. So all agencies, they have given definition of remote sensing, and in short, remote sensing is nothing but it is the science of acquiring information about any object without contact with that object. Okay, so for effective remote sensing, so we should know about the remote sensing process, and this picture shows the remote sensing process. So these are the components of the remote sensing process. So here A is the source of so for remote sensing a source is required, and here in this picture that source is the sun. Okay, so it is considered as a source. Then here radiations from that. So C is the target. So C is we have to take the photo of that target C. Okay, so the sun rays emits. Okay, so these rays they emit in the form of radiations. Okay, so they travel in the form of radiations. Okay, so then C is the target. Okay, so these are the rays emitted from the sun, and also here. So D is the sensor. Sensor, in short, we can say sensor is nothing but a camera. So recording of energy by the sensors. Also the waves, they travel from the sensor and do this wave incident on the target. Okay, so this picture shows the complete process of remote sensing and what are the components of the remote sensing. So then this point E, so these rays, it indicates the transmission, reception and processing. Okay, and after last is the interpretation and analysis, and last is the application. So it is applied in the appropriate area or appropriate field. So there are 3 types of remote sensing. First type is based on the energy source. So first is the active type of remote sensing. So human eyes, then camera, radiometers. Then what is the passive remote sensing? Radar, sonar and lasers are used in case of passive remote sensing. Then one more classification based on region of electromagnetic spectrum. So 4 types of remote sensing are there based on region of electromagnetic spectrum. First is optical remote sensing. Second is photographic remote sensing. Third is thermal remote sensing. Fourth is microwave remote sensing. Then last type of remote sensing based on the bands. So panchromatic remote sensing, multispectral remote sensing, and hyperspectral remote sensing. Okay, so all these types of remote sensing are used for different purposes. Okay. Then next is the platform used for the remote sensing. So in earlier days, so this fourth picture shows the remote sensing in the olden days. Okay, earlier days. So this is called as a ground-based remote sensing. Okay, then we started remote sensing. So aircraft is used for the remote sensing. Then nowadays space shuttle ISS, International Space Station, okay, is used for the remote sensing. And many countries, including our India, they have launched many satellites. So many satellites for the purpose of remote sensing. Okay, so space shuttle and this satellite remote sensing are considered as an advanced type of the remote sensing. Then application of remote sensing. So remote sensing has many applications. Remote sensing can be used for the urbanization and transportation. Remote sensing can also be used for road networks and transportation planning. Then wetland delineation sensing. Then already I have told you the use of remote sensing. Remote sensing is now widely being used in case of prediction of the cyclones. Okay, so this picture shows the Hurricane cyclone and the Oki cyclone. Okay, so which happened 2 years before. Now with modern tools and technology, already I have informed you. So with modern tools and technology, now it is possible to predict a cyclone. Okay, so we can predict its path. We can predict what is the wind speed. We can trace the path, and we can also decide when will it strikes the particular area. Okay, so due to modern tools and technology and due to use of remote sensing and GIS, okay, so we can predict this even cyclone, and due to prediction, so there are less casualties, less deaths are there. There are less chances, or there are less cases of deaths due to this remote sensing. Then some more applications of remote sensing. Remote sensing from satellite can be performed repeatedly at regular intervals. Remote sensing helps in monitoring several Earth surface features continuously. Remote sensing can help us for collecting data about the areas. So in case of flood in Kerala 2018. Okay, so remote sensing. So NDRF team, they got images of the peoples in the affected area, and remote sensing played the important role in that case also. So remote sensing also play an important role in data acquisition over large area in comparison with traditional surveying method. Okay, so these are some of the major image processing softwares. Okay, so NVIDIA. So these are the is one of the image processing software. Then ERDAS Imagine 14 is the latest version. It can be used for image processing. Then PCI Geomatics. All the websites I have given here, and I am also going to share my presentation with all the participants, so you can note down the websites. Then Integraph and Ecognition. So these are some of the major image processing softwares. Okay, so the next is use of remote sensing and GIS in hydrological modeling. Okay, so I have explained you about the remote sensing, and in initial slide I have explained you about the climate change. Now how this remote sensing can be used for hydrological modeling, and how hydrological model help us in assessment of the climate change. Okay, so hydrological modeling, it is nothing but it's a mathematical representation of the major components of hydrological cycle. Okay, so hydrological modeling along with this hydrological modeling. So remote sensing along with this GIS, geographical information system. So with the help of this GIS, so GIS can help us in generating various hydrological properties like digital elevation model, such as drainage network, then flow direction map, then flow accumulation map, then aspect map, stream order, etc. So all these helps in satellite data storing and processing and interpreting, and also GIS helps in analyzing the data. Okay, so we know the important meteorological parameters. Temperature, precipitation, then evapotranspiration, then solar radiation. Okay, so these are the important climatic parameters. Okay, you know, so they can be directly or indirectly obtained from the remote sensing. Okay, but the parameter like runoff cannot be measured from the remote sensing, but it can be generated with the help of hydrological modeling. That's why study of hydrological modeling is very, very important. Now, the methodology used for assessment of the climate change. So here, so this slide shows the methodology used for assessment of the climate change. So first, remote sensing data is collected. What is the remote sensing data? Digital elevation model, then soil map, land use, land cover, then meteorological data, then observed data, meteorological data and observed data. So what is the difference between meteorological data and observed data? So observed data, so there are many websites. So the famous website is India WARIS. Okay, India WARIS, water resource information system. So I will give more details about this India WARIS and how data we can collect from all those websites. So this observed data is like a discharge data. So discharge data is available with India WARIS. So this discharge data can be used for calibration and validation. So here for impact assessment, so SWAT model has been used. SWAT means what? Soil and water assessment tool. So this hydrologic model has been used for the assessment of the climate change. So for this SWAT model, what type of data is required? So digital elevation model is required, then soil map is required, then land use, land cover map is required, and meteorological data. So all these 5 data. So where from we get this data and how to process this data? So we will study in further slide. Okay. So hydrological parameters, main important parameters: relative humidity, precipitation, runoff, and the climate change is. Now data used. Okay. So data used in hydrological modeling. So the first data, digital elevation model. So digital elevation model shows SRTM, shuttle radar topography mission. So the satellite is there. Okay. So SRTM 90. So we can use digital elevation model of this, or other than SRTM. Other than SRTM, we have SRTM, that is Cartosat satellite 3 launched by India. Then GTOPO satellite launched by this United States. Then also one more ASTR is there. ASTR, advanced spaceborne this reflection and radiometer sensor. This ASTR, this satellite is launched by NASA. This satellite is launched by Japan with the help of NASA in 1999. In 1999. So we can get digital elevation from any of the satellite launched by major countries. Then meteorological data. So meteorological data, we can have the data of for SWAT model. Meteorological data required. One is rainfall, then temperature, relative humidity, wind speed, then solar radiation. So this data also can be you can get the data from many organizations, but for here for SWAT model, I have taken that data from Indian Meteorological Department, which is there in Pune. Then third important data required in SWAT model is soil map. Okay, so this soil map data is taken from National Bureau of Soil Survey and Land Use planning, in short NBSSLUP, which is there in Nagpur. Then one more important data required for modeling of hydrological modeling in SWAT. So LULC map, land use land cover map. So land use land cover map, Indian Space Research Organization. So ISRO has there is a portal started by the ISRO. So we can have the LULC map from there also, and one more website is there, or one more organization there, International Geosphere Biosphere Program, IGPP. So we can get LULC map from there. Then discharge data, which is nothing but observed data. So this data we can have from India WARIS. Okay, so what India WARIS? So India Water Resource Information System. Okay, it is website is India WARIS and .nrc.gov.in. Okay, so we are talking about the data. So actually data, what type of data we require? So there are two main components of the data. One is a spatial data. Spatial data means where is it? So it gives the information where is it. And second data is what? Thematic data. So what is the spatial data? So spatial data related with space and are located using the coordinate. So example is location of rain gauges, location of school, etc. So this is required spatial data. Spatial means it locate the location. Where is it? Then second type of data is non-spatial data required for the hydrological modeling. Okay, so spatial, non-spatial data, so it do not depends on the location, and they are usually provided with complementary information. So example is name of the shop, name of the owner, price or land. So these are the non-spatial data. So I think you have got clear-cut idea difference between spatial data and non-spatial data. So here examples are given. In spatial data, location is very important, where is it? And in non-spatial data, location is not important, what it is. Okay, and examples of spatial data is given. Okay, so location of school, and this is the example of non-spatial data. Okay, name of the shop, owner, and this. The next very important part in hydrology in SWAT model is what? Digital elevation model. So here in the picture, okay, so digital elevation model is shown. So but actually there are two terms used in this remote sensing and GIS. One is the digital terrain model, DTM, and second is digital surface model. Okay, so here in the figure, clear cut, you can see what is DSM and what is DTM. So please note, DTM is also called as a DM, digital elevation model. Okay, so digital terrain model or DTM, what it shows or what it represents. So DTM or digital elevation model, it shows or it represents the elevation of the bare earth without taking into account any overground features. Any overground features means, or whether it's a tree or it's a building or it's any other type of artificial artificial or any natural or man-made structure. Then second is digital surface model. So here digital surface model, it is shown by the red dotted line, and digital elevation model is shown by this black line. Okay, so what is digital surface model? DSM is a DM. Please note, DSM, this digital surface model is a DM, and this shows or this represent elevation of the surface of a remote sensing system will first meet. Okay, so this means DSM includes elevation of the bare earth terrain plus natural and man-made features. Okay, natural or man-made feature. Natural feature, whether it's a tree or whether it's a mountain, or man-made means whether it's a building or any other man-made structure. Okay, so more information about the digital elevation model. So digital elevation model is a raster representation of a continuous surface usually, and these are some of the various websites I have mentioned here. So digital elevation can be downloaded from all these. Actually, these are the names of the satellites. Okay, so what is ASTER? So ASTER is Advanced spaceborne thermal emission and reflection radiometer. Okay, so this is a sensor. It is a Japanese sensor, and it is launched by the Japan with the help of NASA. Then second sensor is SRTM. What is SRTM? SRTM, the Shuttle Radar Topography Mission. It is launched by NASA in the year 2000. Yes, in the year 2000. Then third, Cartosat. Okay, so Cartosat. So latest version, Cartosat 1, Cartosat 2, Cartosat 3. Now the latest satellite is Cartosat 3. So Cartosat 3 is the third generation satellite launched by our ISRO, Indian Space Research Organization, and it is called Cartosat 3. I think it is launched in the last year in 2020. So due to this Cartosat 3, we get very high resolution images. Then fourth sensor from which we can download the DEM data is GTOPO. Okay, so GTOPO 30 is the latest sensor. So GTOPO 30. So actually, it is launched by again United States. So USGS. Then so how to download the digital elevation model from different websites. Okay, so from this USGS, how to download the digital elevation model? First we will have to select the region, then go to result, then go to digital elevation model, then select the data, and then you can download. Okay, so this is the picture, shows the dashboard of the USGS. So before downloading digital elevation from the this USGS. Then second, SRTM 30 DEM. So we can download data, digital elevation model from this SRTM, the Shuttle Radar Topography Mission launched by NASA in 2000. The next is some other data required for remote sensing. Allos Pulsar DEM, okay, 12.5 meter. So here purposely I have shown you the picture of that website so that you get clear-cut idea about this. The next, okay, so Bhuvan, so Indian Geo Platform. So Bhuvan is the website developed by this National Remote Sensing Center. So this is the Indian website. So you can also download digital elevation model using this Bhuvan website, Cartosat. So latest sensor for downloading digital elevation model using this Bhuvan is Cartosat 3. Okay, so this Cartosat 3, it was launched in the last year itself. The next, remote sensing data. Alaska satellite facility is also available here. So you can download remote sensing related data from this site also. Okay, so I have also given the link also. So you can go to this website and you can download the remote sensing data. The next is remote sensing data, Sentinel satellite data. So you can download related data from this website also. Okay, so Land Viewer automated satellite image processing, you can download from this website. The next is you can get free hydrological and GIS data set from our own Indian made Bhuvan website. Sorry, no, not Bhuvan, India Varis website. Okay, so you can get here base data, hydrometeorological data, surface water data, groundwater, then snow cover, glacier data, then water quality. So all in the picture I have shown you. So this much information you will get from this India WARIS. So free hydrological data and base data you can get from this India WARIS, our website developed by the NRSC. Okay, so more data can be obtained, free hydrological data can also be obtained from this India WARIS website. Okay, so this picture shows the dashboard of the Bhuvan. Okay, so you can download data required for any type of modeling. Okay, from the Bhuvan website. So world glacier data set. Okay, so world glacier data set you can get here from this website also. So these are some of the various websites I have mentioned. Then ISRI Global Geospatial Open Data Set is also available from this site, ISRI. Next is one more website to get the data, or remote sensing data. So okay, so one more is the United Nations Environmental Program, UNEP, Global Geospatial Data you can download from. So free data is also, data set is available here. Okay, so you can have free data set from this website also. So free hydrological data related with sediment and GIS data set. Okay, so this can be downloaded from India WARIS website itself. Now here some more meteorological data set I have given in the slide. Okay, so I4I is one more data set available. So here technical information graded daily 25 kilometers square data is available, and here the website is also, I have given the web link for this. Okay, so web link for this. So if you click on this, then just a minute. Just a minute. Oh, just a minute. Sorry. Okay. The next is TRMM GPM satellite. So tropical rainfall measuring missions. Then global precipitation measure. So you can get the data from this site also. Okay. So I will take you to this site. Okay, just a minute, it's not working now. Okay, so meteorological data can be, you can get data. Then one more is CRU, Climate Research Unit. So you can get the database from this. Then some more information about hydrological data. So you can get data from all those net evapotranspiration, then land cover maps, then lakes and river water level data, then this global surface water data assets. Okay, so global runoff data center. So all these websites are there, so you can get hydrological data from all those websites. Okay, so other meteorological variables, so you can also get the data from this NOAA. NOAA is the NOAA is the organization which is there in America, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. So it is a organization there in America, similar to our ISRO. Okay, similar to our ISRO organization is there in America, famous organization in America called as a NOAA. So data sets can be available from that website also. Okay, so important portals for remote sensing database, again some important portals, frequently used portals I am giving here. So NASA Earth Explorer is there, then NASA Earth Data, then ESA Captain's Open Access Hub, then NOAA Comprehensive Large Array Data Stewardship System is there, which is called as a class. Then Earth Observation Link is there, and our own Bhuvan's ISRO's Bhuvan, ISRO Geospatial. So from all these are the famous data frequently used in all over the world. So Bhuvan is very famous. The next is some of the important open source GIS softwares which can be used in case of any type of hydrological modeling. Okay, so the first is Orbis GIS. Okay, so Orbis GIS is a open to source GIS software created by the research for research. Now this Orbis GIS, it process new methods and techniques to model and represent and process the spatial data. Okay, so Orbis is a open source software, you can download it from anywhere. Then second open source software is GIS editor. Okay, so this also an open source software which can be used for hydrological modeling and geospatial data analysis. The next is desktop GIS. Okay, so this software allows us to create maps, then perform spatial analysis, and this desktop GIS also helps in image processing. So okay, so these are the three open source software. Then apart from these three, one more open source software is there. What is that? That map window. Okay, so latest version of map window is 4.8. So map window is an open source GIS software used by large number of researchers, and it is also used by many organizations in the world. Okay, so this map window, the name itself indicates this map window, this open to source software, it helps in mapping. So mapping is the main purpose of this software. Then Thuban is next open to source software. So this is this can be used for geographic data viewer, means vector data, raster data. Okay, so any type of data can be analyzed and can be processed using this open source software Thuban. Then Jump is another open source software. So open source software used in case of hydrological modeling. So Jump enables user to display, edit, analyze the geospatial data, analyze the GIS data in short. Then one more important open to source software generally used all over the world is GRASS. Okay, so what is GRASS? Actually, GRASS is a short form of Geographic Resource Analysis and Support System. Okay, so this GRASS is used for geospatial data management and analysis, and this GRASS also helps in image processing also. Then Cosmo, the latest version of the Cosmo is 10.5. Is the it is very useful. This Cosmo is the very user-friendly software, and this Cosmo, it allows us to explore again data. We can analyze. Next is QGIS. This is a very famous open to source software. This is considered as an alternative for ArcGIS. ArcGIS is not an open source software, but QGIS is open to source software. So some of the features of ArcGIS are there in QGIS. So QGIS is a very famous open to source software. and this software you can with the help of this software you can edit the data, you can analyze, you can process the geospatial data, and 3.18 is the latest version of this QGIS open to source software. The next is UDIG. So again, UDIG is an open to source of software. So this UDIG is developed by this Canada. So it is a this is developed by a consultancy which is there in Canada. So Canadian consultant, they have developed this UDIG software, and latest version of UDIG software is 2.0.0. Then one more famous software generally used in all over the world is SAGA. Actually, SAGA is the short form. SAGA means System for Automated Geospatial Analysis. Okay, so geodata can be processed and it can be analyzed, and this is the 7.9.0 is the latest version of the SAGA. Then after SAGA, ELVIS. Okay, again it's a short form. So integrated land and water information system. Indicated land and water information system. Again, this is an open to source software. 3.8.6 is the latest version of this ELVIS. Okay, then GVSIG. Okay, GVSIG. So Generaloid Vencia. Actually, this is a Spanish software. Okay, this is the Spanish software. So it can be used for data analysis. And apart from this, then iGeoDesktop, GIS Analyst, and GIS Viewer, and OpenJumps. These are the some of the examples of the open to source softwares generally used in case of data analysis. Okay, now SWAT as a hydrological model. Now I will come to my third part. Okay, so impact assessment of climate change using remote sensing and GIS. Okay, so for impact assessment, climate change impact assessment, or the assessment of the climate change, so can be done using this SWAT hydrological model. Okay, so this SWAT hydrological model, so it is a distributed hydrological model, namely it is namely soil and water assessment tool, and this SWAT can be used to assess quality. It can be used to assess quantity of surface ground. It can also be used to predict the impact of land use. It can also be used for land management practices, and it can also be used for climate change on environment. Okay, so SWAT. This SWAT is again, it is developed by United States Department of Agriculture Research Service. Okay, so this hydrological model SWAT, so with different components such as weather, surface runoff, percolation, evaluation. So these types of data can be used in case of this hydrological model. So SWAT is a continuous time model that operates on a daily time steps at basin scale. Okay, so what is the main objective of this SWAT hydrological model? So the objective of this model is to predict a long-term impact of large basins of management, also timing of agriculture practices with year. Okay, now these are the steps to be followed in while using the hydrological this SWAT model. So these are the steps: project setup, then water delineation, then HRU analysis, hydraulic response unit analysis, then write input tables, edit SWAT input, then running SWAT, and calibration. So SWAT has published one manual. A guideline is given by the SWAT. So in that guideline or in the manual published by the SWAT, so this one is not, they have not considered this project setup as a step number 1, but I have considered as a project setup as a step number 1, because in project setup, so we have to first enters you have to enter the initial data related with this project. Okay, so in the coming slide I will discuss each and every step. So step number 1 is project setup. Okay, so this picture shows the actual dashboard. Okay, so the first step in the SWAT is to set up a project so that necessary folders and databases are created to store all the data. So here we can click on project setup and we can enter the required data. Then second, the important step is what? Watershed delineation. Okay, so what is watershed delineation? So ArcSWAT automatically divides a watershed into sub watershed on digital elevation model and drainage work. Okay, so watershed based on threshold area or critical source area, watershed delineation process. How watershed delineation process is carried out. So it is shown there in the figure. The next is next step of this hydrological model. Step hydrological model is what? HRU analysis, hydrologic response unit. So hydrologic response unit. So hydrologic response unit analyze the menu in the ArcSWAT, and this is used for defining land use, land cover. Then it is used for soil and slope characteristics of the basin. So hydraulic response unit is an important step in SWAT model. The next is step in next step in this SWAT is write input table. Okay, so here meteorological data like rainfall, then temperature, relative humidity, wind speed, solar radiation, then temperature maximum or minimum. So these data sets we can give input to the SWAT model. Okay, then next is edit SWAT model. Okay, so this is optionally we can edit the input files to include the reservoir and management options for each, and so you can edit the data whatever input you have given to the SWAT model. You can. Okay, then running SWAT. Running SWAT is another sixth step in this SWAT modeling. So after preparing all the databases like watershed delineation, land use, soil, slope, weather generators. Okay, so after preparing all these databases, SWAT simulation has been done for different time periods and according to different climate change scenario on the daily basis. So here you have to set the period of simulation and change the we have to run this SWAT analysis. Then analysis output. So whatever output will be given by SWAT, so we have to analyze it in a proper way. Okay, now the third part of the study is third part of this presentation is study area. Okay, so Godavari River Basin is taken as a study area. So you know the Godavari Basin, it extends over the state of Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Chhattisgarh, Odisha. So in addition to this, there some in smaller part it is there in Madhya Pradesh, Karnataka, and Union Territory of Puducherry. Okay, so this is the description or information related with the Godavari rivers, and the source is Indiavaris. From this information is taken from Indiavaris. Okay, so basin extent is given here, area in square kilometer is given here. Then number of watersheds in the Godavari river basins are 466, and number of sub basins in Godavari river basin are 8. So what are those? One is upper Godavari river basin, then lower Godavari river basin, then middle Godavari river basin, then Pranita, then Manjra, Venganga, Indravati. These are the 8 number of rivers basins which are there. Then in Godavari river basin, mean annual rainfall is 1093.21 mm. Maximum temperature 33.04 degrees Celsius and minimum temperature. Okay, so this information is taken from Indiavaris. Okay, so study area. This picture shows the study area of this Godavari river basin. So this picture is taken from the Google Earth. This picture shows the Godavari river basin index map. It has been highlighted using this this blue color. Again, this picture is taken from Indiavaris. Actually, Indiavaris has published published some papers. Also, some information is there in the PDF format regarding all river basins, Godavari river basin and many other river basins. Information is available there on the Indiavaris website. Okay, so this is the Godavari river basin index map. Then drainage and sub basin map is shown there. Again, this picture is taken from the Indiavaris. Then state-wise sub-basin area. Actually, this picture it is taken before formation of the Telangana. Telangana is not mentioned here. So this is the Maharashtra. So maximum area you can see here. So 48.77% area. Okay, square kilometer area. It is there in Maharashtra. After Maharashtra, you can see there in Andhra Pradesh 23.77. Then Chhattisgarh 12.4. Then Odisha 5.7, Puducherry, Karnataka. These are so actually some smaller parties there in Madhya Pradesh, Karnataka, and Union Territory Puducherry. Okay. So some features of the Godavari river basins are mentioned here. Okay, again this information is taken from Indiavaris. Okay, so land use and land cover of the river basin. So here in that river basin, barren land is there, built up, urban and rural, then grassland, mixed forest. So these are some of the types of the land. So we can take it as a land use and land cover. Okay, so some short forms are used. BL, barren land, CL means crop land, PL is used for plantation, and WB, if any water body is there, then at that time, you have to use WB. Any wasteland is there, then use WL. Okay, shrub lands is there, then use SL. Okay, these are the nomenclatures. These are the principal tributaries of Godavari river basin. Again, this information is taken from Indiavaris. Pravara river basin is there, rises in Western Ghat. Then Purna rises in Ajanta range of hills. Then Mandra rises in the Balghat range of hills. Indravati rises in Eastern Ghat. Then Sabri rises in the Singplam hills of the Eastern Ghat, and Pranita. So case study 1, actually I will be discussing 2 case studies. The first case study, even though the total Godavari river basin has been not considered, in the case study 1, only Mandra river basin, sub-basin of the Godavari river has been considered. So so there is a water scarcity in the common water scarcity is the common problem in many countries throughout the world. So this is the problem statement. The Godavari river basin is the second largest. Already I have explained you, and it is flowing through all these 8 states, not 6, 8 states. Okay. So this information is before formation of the Telangana. Okay, so majority of the population in state depends upon the agriculture. So we know. So it is very important to study. So for case study number 1, so watershed number 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 have been considered. Okay. So So you will be surprised that why I have chosen this watershed number 6, 7, 8, and 9, 10, 11. Okay. So please you have to check whether the data set is available there on the India Varis website. So you have to check whether data set is available from which year to which year. So data set for this watershed number 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, it was available there on the India Varis website. So that's why the study of Mandra watershed number 6, 7, 8, and 9 has been considered as a case study. So Mandra, you know, Mandra river is a tributary of Godavari river basin and it flows through the different states. Okay. So research objective to collect and prepare SWOT input. Already you have explained you. Then detailed assessment of water balance component. It is very important. Impact assessment is also considered as a water balance component. Okay. Then validation and simulation. So this picture shows the study area and methodology. Okay, so Mandra river basin. Okay, so Mandra is the sub basin of Godavari river basin. Okay, so here in Mandra, watershed number 6, watershed number 7, watershed number 8, 9, 10, and 11. These are shown there in the figure. Okay, so more information about these watersheds. Okay, so length is 724, basin area 30,000, tributaries. What are the tributaries? So Terna, then Tawarjia, Dharni, Lendi, Mayan, Teru. These are the tributaries of the Mandra river. Number of watersheds in Mandra rivers are 28, and selected watershed for the study are 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so area of watershed is 658 square kilometer, and all those areas are mentioned here. So methodology. Okay, so this is the methodology adopted. Digital elevation model setup, then watershed delineation, HRU definition. So these are nothing but the steps of the SWOT model. Okay, so this methodology is clear cut, shown with the help of the flow chart. Okay, so here Mandra river watersheds I have considered. So information data of watershed number 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 has been collected. Dam data, then soil map, then LULC, land data. All these data have been collected, and meteorological data has been collected from IMD, and observed data, discharge data collected from India Varis. Discharge data is always helpful for validating. Okay, so these are the screenshots of the model, watershed delineation. Then next is hydrological response unit, HRU process. This is the one of the process. It is shown there. Actual screenshot taken. Then write input tables. Then SWOT model simulation, output, reading of the output, and then last step is thematic map. Okay, so digital elevation model. So this thematic map shows the digital elevation model of watershed number 6. Okay, similarly, thematic maps for rest of the watersheds have been prepared. So this picture shows the digital elevation model thematic map of the watershed number 7. Similarly, thematic map has been prepared for watershed number 8, then watershed number 9, then watershed number 10. Oh, sorry, 10 I have not included. Just a minute. Okay, sorry, 10 and 11 I have not included. Okay, then next is this land use and land cover. So this is this thematic map shows the land use land cover of watershed number 6. Similarly, like digital elevation model of this watershed number 6 to 11 have been prepared. Now the next is land use land cover of watershed number 6 to 11 have been prepared. Okay, land use land cover for rest of the then soil map similarly soil map has been prepared for the all those watershed number 6 to 11. Soil map of 9 number, soil map of 10 number. Okay, so this is the water balance equation. Okay, so in water balance equation, so here uh, addition of all this must be equal to 0. So okay, where P is precipitation, Q is runoff, ET evapotranspiration base flow, and here delta TWS is change in terrestrial water storage. Okay, so now we will have look on the water balance component. So here result and conclusion. So water balance component of watershed number 6. Okay, so watershed number 6 here. So precipitation 871, evapotranspiration and transpiration 551. Okay, so all these, so we will have watershed number 6. Okay, so number of outlet and sub-basins in watershed number 6 are 29. And here, according to the input given by SWAT, okay, average precipitation, it is 871.1. Total average runoff, which is equal to surface plus lateral plus return, 315. And here, average groundwater recharge 7.3.7. Okay, so all these are the inputs given by the SWAT. And here, you can see here this total is equal to 0. So this is called as a water balance study. Similarly, this water balance study is carried out for rest of the watersheds. So this is the watershed number 1, watershed number 7, like 6. Again here the balance is 0, P minus Q. Similarly for other watersheds it has been calculated. Water balance component. Now validation. Okay, so here this table shows the this first column simulated values, means this value I got from the SWAT model, and these are the observed values which are there taken from the what India Waris website. Okay, discharge data taken from, this is the observed data. Okay, this is the observed discharge data, and this data is given by the simulation. So you can see nearly this data is matching identical with each other. Okay, so I have shown this using a graph. So here you can see the precipitation data for the watershed number 6. Okay, so here nearly they are matching, simulated data and observed data matching precipitation data. Okay, so here we can see the value of that R square, which is called as the coefficient of determination. Okay, similarly validation has been done for rest of the watersheds. Okay, okay, so validation done for all 6 to 11 watersheds, and summary of the output is given here. Okay, so summary and conclusion from the case study 1. Okay, so case study 1, okay, the value of coefficient of determination, it was 0.92, very close to 1, means the model worked very well and there is no requirement of what? The calibration. For calibration, SWAT curve is used, but here in this case, as I got the value of R square equal to 0.9, so there is no need of calibration. Then this is the second case study of the Godavari, lower Godavari river basin. Similar, same steps are there. Okay, same methodology, preparation and data, collection of the data, then preparation of the shape file. Okay, already I have explained you. Methodology is there, same methodology, analysis of data obtained. Okay, this is the methodology adopted for second case also. Okay, already I have explained you about the methodology of the first case, similar methodology adopted for the second case also. So second case is lower Godavari basin. Generally lower Godavari basin, it falls in Marathwada region. Some of the part, it falls in Maharashtra. So that's why it is considered as a for the study. Similarly, thematic maps have been prepared using the SWAT for the lower Godavari basin, land use, land cover, soil map. This is the soil map. All types of soils are given there. Okay, so lower Godavari river, again water balance study is carried out for lower Godavari basin. Okay, so here you can see the precipitation. Okay, precipitation, then evapotranspiration, runoff, and is the total of incoming and total of outgoing. Same total is matching. Okay. Similar validation, same here, validation can be done. So the data is matching like previous case. Okay, so this is the data given by Indiavaris, and this is the data got from SWAT. More or less, they are matching. So model can be validated, and through graph it can be represented. So here you can see the data from Indiavaris and data from SWAT. They are identical. They are matching. Okay, so same output, same is there. Okay, so conclusion, the water balance components, as I explained you, the component precipitation, base flow, evapotranspiration, runoff. Okay, and change in terrestrial water storage. Okay, so here water balance study, it is carried out, and here in the study coefficient of determination, the value of R square, it is nearly equal to 0.9. Okay, so there is no need of calibration. Okay, this is the recommendation and future scope. So same study can be carried out using Wick model also, variable infiltration capacity. Okay, and these are the some of the screenshots taken while using the ArcSWAT. Okay, so these are the screenshot taken. Now references. So references, I have referred the papers of Aditya sir, Vaikar sir. So here you can see Aditya sir. I have referred the papers published by Aditya sir and Vaikar sir. These are the references. And these are the some of the websites. Okay, so the website for your website for references. So 9 websites I have mentioned here: SRTM, EROS, FMI. So you can note down all those. Okay, so climate change. I will show you one small video.
What is something we all share in common? Something like a common denominator. Something you and I both have. The answer? We all share one home. Planet Earth. That serves as a nest of rich biodiversity. Home full of life and natural resources. A place wherein all living creatures live in harmony and peace. But because of human activities like deforestation, coal mining, smoke belching, and improper waste disposal, this resulted to a global problem that we call climate change. A problem everyone in this world is facing. But how does it really happen? Activities like deforestation, smoke belching, improper waste disposal, coal mining, and smoke from factories produces gases like carbon dioxide, CFCs, methane, nitrous oxide, and water vapor, which can be harmful when it accumulates inside the Earth's atmosphere, causing you to be trapped inside, making the Earth warmer and warmer, causing our normal temperature to rise, which results to a ton of things we are experiencing right now, like melting of polar ice caps, which causes sea level rise, extreme heat that may cause big forest fires, stronger rains that will make floods higher than ever. Our normal climate will change drastically and will affect all living creatures inside of it. But we can still make things happen. In our own little ways, we can start by planting more trees that will produce cleaner air. Let's recycle, and as much as possible say no to single-use plastic like utensils, plastic bottles, and straws that can pollute our seas. To reduce smoke and air pollution, instead of using cars, why not try biking? Reduce your energy consumption. Open our windows and let natural light in. Save energy and save resources, and use energy-efficient appliances. The Earth is everything that we got. It is something we all share, something we must protect, love, and value. We can do it. Our small efforts can contribute to big changes. We only have one home. Let's save it all together and help the fight against.
Okay, so climate change is really happening, and there is no planet B. So we have to control the climate change. And with this, I conclude my session. Thank you very much.
If participants have any question, they can ask. Sir, Vaika sir have posted some question in chat box. What about remaining watershed? Is it limitation of the study?
Okay. What about remaining watersheds? It is limitation of the study. Okay, so I have chosen watershed number 6 to 11 of that Manjira River because the data was available on that day, and the data regarding precipitation, temperature, all the data, it was available regarding that watershed only. So I have chosen that watershed only.
Okay, sir. One more question from sir. Which is preferred, DTM or DSM?
Hello, sir.
Which is preferred, DTM or DSM?
Which DTM and DSM. So clearly I have mentioned DTM is nothing but what digital elevation model. Okay, so generally if you go through all the steps of the SWAT, then in that only digital elevation model is considered. So in DSM, we also consider some man-made or artificial attributes like buildings, trees. So we should consider a digital elevation model as per the information from the SWOT model.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Any question? Participant, they can directly ask.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Rajmani, sir.
Yes, sir.
Please
Sir,
tell.
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
You have predicted the data from by using model. So, for how much long you predicted the data? For how many years you predicted the data?
Sir, we using SWOT model, we can predict even data what will be the rainfall in 2050, 2030. Even for many years, even you can predict the data up to 30 years, 50 years.
Okay. So that was actually average of that. You mentioned January,
Yes,
February.
it is considered only for validation of the model. So we have to check whether the model is working properly or not. So it should be validated. So for validation purpose, I have shown only 1 or 2 months description.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
I am Pathan from Aurangabad.
Yes, sir.
AIM.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
So, good evening, sir. My question is that how to find ground truth value for accuracy assessment of a generated digital elevation model. So, how to find the... Yes, sir.
Yes, yes, sir. Will you repeat?
How to find ground truth value for the accuracy assessment of generated digital elevation model. For example, I have a digital elevation model. So with respect, I have downloaded it, but I want to check the accuracy of that digital elevation model. So with respect to the ground truth value, so how I can find?
No, sir. Actually, I have studied only. I have used only SWOT model. So, sir, I have given my mail ID. So I can answer your question later on, sir. I don't right now. I don't have answer of this.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you. Okay.
Yes. Any other?
Okay. I think no question. So thank you, sir. The lecture was very informative. This will definitely help the participants who are working in the field of remote sensing and GIS. Thank you for accepting our invitation. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, Aditya, sir. Thank you, Vaikar, sir.